Well, we want to talk to you about, the country. And it feels like the Democratic opposition is just not getting it. There are votes that you've made that were heartbreaking to me, like the vote for Kushner. That really pissed me off because I feel like this administration, it's not, are they fascist? They are fascist. It's not, we're on the precipice of fascism. We have Pritzker, Texas is sending troops to Illinois. I mean, and I feel like the opposition needs to be fuck no across the board. We're not giving you a centimeter. And I think there's been a lot of capitulation. I think there's been a lot of Neville Chamberlain type appeasement from Democratic leadership. And you're one of them that's kind of been disappointing to me because we podcasted before. They're serious about Project 2025. They're going to do all this shit. And they're doing every single bit of it. So what do you think? What do you have to say about the capitulation that you've participated in and where the Democratic Party is right now?
Well, first of all, I would say very pointedly that one of the things I dislike about the Democratic Party is that we do a circular firing squad all the time. Their party, they disagree. There's wild disagreements in the Republican tent, and yet they don't shoot at each other. And we have a really good way of holding up these purity tests that if I agree with you on 95...
That's such bullshit. That is such bullshit. They fire it.
All right, family. So as you can see, you got a far left podcast host talking to Senator Cory Booker. Her name is the one that's talking right now, talking back and forth with Cory Booker is Jennifer Welch. And instead of having a real conversation, she's grilling him because he's not extreme enough for her, right? That's the issue here. She's not coming at him from a common sense angle or even a moderate liberal angle. She's coming from a place of, you're not radical enough for me, so I'm going to try to embarrass you. Now, I gotta love the podcast, and I love these type of conversations, and I appreciate the vibe of it because it's authentic conversation happening, which I believe more of it should happen. But she's mad that Cory Booker, which we'll get to in a second as we continue to watch the, video. She's mad that Cory Booker took a photo with Benjamin Netanyahu, Israel's prime minister. And she says that moment diminished everything he's done.
They fire at each other all the time. Trump has sent so many people out to pasture, so many people that he calls rhinos. Liz Cheney can tell you that they have the firing squad as well. It's not a purity test. It's are we in this fight, and are we being beholden to corporations and corporate interests, or are we really the party of the working class? And that's what I think the message is.
Two things I'll say. First of all, if everybody in your coalition agrees with you on everything, your coalition's not big enough. If it's a cult. If we don't have disagreements, then we're talking in an echo chamber. Thank God I sit in a caucus with people. I couldn't win in some of my colleague states, perhaps, but we have lots of different agreements, but we are united in the fight against Trump. And I'll say number two, which is really important, is that, we feel the existential urgency. And even though we don't agree on everything, I'm in the trenches with some of the best fighters I have. From veterans like Mark Kelly and Tammy Duckworth, who have, I know Mark's voted on some people I didn't vote for. So we may not be absolutist, but the fighters that I'm in the trench with right now, the sacrifices that they're making for this fight is pretty tremendous. So I have disagreements with a lot of people. Look, I'm one of a handful of people that don't take corporate PAC money. I don't understand my Democratic
What
Party.
about AIPAC money? You take AIPAC money, don't you?
A minuscule percentage of my resources come.
She said, what about AIPAC money? He said he doesn't take any money, unlike his colleagues. She mentioned, what about AIPAC money? He's going to say, it's a minuscule amount. It doesn't matter if it's a small amount, whatever you want to call it. It's the simple fact that you're still taking the money.
AIPAC money. You take AIPAC money, don't you?
A minuscule percentage of my resources come from.
I read it's like 800,000.
Yeah, but that's a lifetime number.
Yeah, that's just a lifetime number. Yeah, 800,000 is just nothing. Yeah.
Of raising tens of millions of dollars. Let me give you the right stat. The majority of my money comes from small dollar contributions. By last report, I think 76% of it came from people that gave $25 or less. So this to me is about, again, we could pick at each other, or we could do what we need to be doing right now, is joining in a chorus of conviction to condemn it. And again, I'm a child of civil rights activists. You think Malcolm X and
See, this is what politicians are trained to do. He is basically deflecting and basically dodging. Like he is dodging the simple fact that he took APEC money up to $800,000. So this is what they do when they get a nerve, when a nerve gets struck, such as a question that may struck a nerve of emotions, then they'll sit there and start deflecting or moving the goalposts. So right now, what Cory Booker is doing, which politicians are trained to do, is they'll either start talking about their upbringing or where they come from and talk about, oh, well, we need to stand together instead of nitpicking with each other. And they'll start tugging on your heartstrings with emotionalism. And that's how they think that it absolves himself from the simple fact in his case that he took $800,000 in APEC money. Like that's supposed to be go under the radar. Like, no, bro, take accountability. And he is dodging, boy. He is trying to get out of fire right now.
Martin Luther King agreed on everything? No. Do you think Fred Shuttle, in fact, Ella Baker had lots of criticisms about King. But when it came to the fight, they joined together and created a movement that was successful. And that's really what my focus is. And as the only person in the caucus that lives in a low-income Black and brown neighborhood below the poverty line. I still remember when some progressives from the suburbs came down to protest me, and they were
and the only one in the caucus. Bro, now he's trying to go on story time. He's trying to tap into that emotionalism. He's trying to really pitch the sentiment of what he's about. And everybody rocks with him.
literally chased away by my neighbors because we are in an urgency. Every day I see it. We are in an urgency where real people are getting hurt. When I go up and down in New Jersey, they don't care about the fact that I took 1% of my money from some group. They care about what are you doing to restore my health care?
Exactly. What are you doing? Instead of you taking money for some group. And let's be factual here. Family, the reason why this is important because that APAC group, family, and you guys can look it up, it is an Israel group. So the APAC group is money coming from a group, a Israel group, a pro-Israel group. And we know that with the whole Israel-Gaza situation, with the war and so forth, individuals in Israel are basically wishing death amongst Jews. So basically, individuals are looking at it like, bro, you're taking blood money. And this is the play, right? They'll take money to enrich themselves. But you may think that Jerseyans or New Jerseyans aren't caring about you taking 1% when it's $800,000. That's not no little money. But the simple fact is, if you're taking money from a group that's based in Israel, this APAC group, then how are you truly focused on New Jerseyans and their concerns if you're so busy having festivities elsewhere that have nothing to do with the American people, in this case, New Jerseyans? See, the thing is, which it comes to a concern, and New Jerseyans should be concerned, and I feel like he shot himself in the foot. And at the end of the day, the truth has came out as he's talked enough after he was trying to deflect and dodge the question about taking APAC money. The thing is, if you're taking money, then whoever you took money from out of this APAC group, you got to be on call. So when they call, you better pick up. And that's a such thing as how to have a politician in my back pocket as leverage when I need to. So the simple fact is, if you don't do, because that money comes with a price. Ain't nobody just going to give up $800,000 and nothing in return comes with it. Right? You scratch my back, I scratch yours. So it is a real concern because now there's stipulations to that money that was given to you, bruh.
What are you doing to fight for my fact that I can't make rent? And in my caucus right now, we're standing up and fighting for those things and not capitulating, as you said, to Donald Trump's attempts to deny 22 million Americans health care, to see healthcare costs double for lots of them.
Well, I think the base feels like right now, and I know that you're in the Beltway, but I think the Democratic base feels like there is a disconnect. Like we hear you, like when you did your 25 25-hour speech. I was like, go, Cory. I love this. That is amazing. And then there's a photo shoot with you with Benjamin Netanyahu. And I was just like, what in the actual fuck? Like, how can he do that? It was heartbreaking. I felt betrayed.
Yeah.
And hang on. And that doesn't just happen in an echo chamber.
He's just going along with it, egging on. Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because it got him in the clear and it got him out of the red of taking that APEC money. See, it's a strategy, family. And the thing is, and I'm going to move on to what she's talking about in regards of not liking that he took a picture with Benjamin Netanyahu. The thing is, a lot of people are weary of politicians. But the thing is, a business-minded person, in this case, that APEC group where he took 1% in his words, which is $800,000, Mr. Cory Booker or Mr. Booker took. The thing is, businessmen think, okay, how can I leverage a politician? Money talks, right? But let's continue.
It's important.
And that could be dangerous for his constituents because that means how are you upholding a priority of New Jerseyans on the behalf of your constituents that you represent if you're so busy worrying about selfish motives in regards of making sure you are backed by having money? And what do you have the money for? And why do you have this $800,000?
When there are
Corrupt
Democrats like you, where the base, we should make each other better. We need to evolve. And I love that you come on here. We need to have these conversations. It's not a purity test. We want credible messengers, because when we are down the middle and beholden to corporate interests, then we leave this vacuum, and that's how fascism has flourished. And so for myself and a lot of our listeners, when I saw the picture with Benjamin Netanyahu, I felt like it diminished your 25 hours. That's how it felt to me.
So a few things. One is, I work in the Beltway. I live in the Central Ward in Newark, New Jersey. Streets that a lot of folks tell folks, why would you demean and degrade my communities? I keep a little picture here of the first place I represented in 28 years old, which is a Black community that's struggling. And we've transformed our schools, our supermarkets, new parks, urban farms, and the like. And the wonderful thing about those folks that I serve is that none of them question where I stand and how long, for more than a quarter of a century, have I stood with the people in their neighborhoods. Number two, so I may work in the Beltway, but I know where I came from and I know who got me here. And it's the struggling people that our party has done a pretty shitty job for, to be honest with you.
I agree.
Okay, number two,
none of them question you because the simple fact is you never got held accountable because you were so busy. The big thing is, and that's the concern, they are too little for you to feel like, who are you to question me when I'm operating on your behalf, because you have to answer to the big man where you took that $800,000 due from the APEC group. So you can't really operate authentically and genuinely on the behalf of your constituents because you have got money taken. You have taken money from this APEC group that you have to listen to. So now you can't prioritize Americans and legislate like you're supposed to, as you're supposed to prioritize them. So at the end of the day, they have nothing to question if you belittle them or you are not even giving them access to the point where you feel as though you should be questioned.
When you say things like Kushner, this or whatever, I remember the people who actually, when the Democratic Party was doing things like passing crime bills that put Black people like me, when I was in my 20s and stopped by the police all the time, behind bars, the Democratic Party failed and fueled mass incarceration. And so the people that were there for me 30 years ago, doing prisoner reentry programs, getting people jobs and housing, I'm sorry. People like Kushner, who was there 30 years ago fighting for those fights, I'm not going to forget that they fought for Black people when other people seem to be gung-ho with, hold on, you let me finish.
Wait, is this the first CARE Act? What was that act called that you passed?
Well, that was only 10 years ago, the First Step Act.
What was that? Okay, I've read about that. It's really good. Yes, it's excellent.
And I'm sorry, I have to work across the aisle, and Charlie Kushner but for him, it wouldn't have gotten done. So when I go home, People do know people that got out of prison because of the First Step Act, and they knew the bipartisan coalition. Third, I'm sorry. I have real problems with Benjamin Netanyahu. Outrageous things that he's doing. The way you fight for those things is you sit down face to face with somebody and you fight with them. I'm not going to be outside of the room screaming. I want to look him in the eye, like me, Amy Klobuchar, and a whole bunch of other people did, and talk to him about humanitarian aid. And if people want to criticize me for it, then go ahead. But I'm leading in the Senate on West Bank crises right now, from their attempts to annex it or illegal settlements. I lead the legislation to sanction the people that are doing that. I can stand strong on my principles. Legislation to sanction right now from their attempts to annex. Go ahead. But I'm leading in the Senate on West Bank crises right now, from their attempts to annex it or illegal settlements. I lead the legislation to sanction the people that are doing that. I can stand strong on my principles and still work to end these things. And I don't mind taking criticism, again, from folks that don't necessarily agree with my tactics. But we on this podcast right now, we share the same aim: ceasefire now, humanitarian aid now, return the hostages now. And I'm
Return the hostages when they came into the country illegal. Yeah, man, get this fake Cory Booker guy faking this out the way. Fake humanitarian aid having guy, because in the disguise of being person that's prioritizing humanitarian aid and actually doing humanitarian things where they're actually effective to actually pave the way so people can actually thrive and not just survive, it's nonsense, and it's disguised under his own selfish motives that he can't even see through the own speck of his own eyes to prioritize his constituents and represent New Jersey as effective as he could, because he's basically being leveraged, and he has to answer, like I said, to that APEC group, no matter what it is. So he can't even, they are so little, the constituents, the people that don't question him. Well, if they don't have access to you, and the simple fact is you'll sit there and belittle them and don't even have time to ask questions to actually serve the people, because you're so busy serving the APEC group that you took money from. The money talks, so you're going to prioritize that APEC group over your constituents, and the people that support you or never question you any day, because they are too little and you are superior and they're inferior, where you don't even prioritize them. So the whole thing with her basically upset about Benjamin Netanyahu and him taking a picture with him, and that photo is what erased his work in her eyes. Why? Because she wants him to call Netanyahu a war criminal, and since he won't do it, now she's accusing him of not being progressive enough. And that's how far gone some of these people are. If you don't say exactly what they want to hear, they act like you betrayed them. And then she brings up how Democrats are appeasing fascism, like basically surrendering to dictatorship because they call Trump a dictator. And that people like Cory Booker are part of the problem, because they won't fight hard enough against Republicans, right? She talks like we're already living in some kind of dictatorship, and instead of pushing back, Booker tries to explain that he's trying to lead responsibly, but to her that's not enough, and she wants him to go scorched earth, no compromise, no middle ground. But here's the reality. The average American doesn't think like this. These are minds of liberals, right? And most people aren't looking for politicians to declare war on the other side. They just want people to fix what's broken: the economy, healthcare, the border crime, schools. And they don't care who took a photo with who. They don't care about Twitter drama. They care about rent, food prices, and gas. And what's really happening here is a good example of how the Democratic Party is being pulled way too far to the left. And it's not Republicans making them look bad. It's people in their own party demanding extreme positions that don't make sense to everyday people. And the left is eating its own, and politicians like Cory Booker are struck trying to defend themselves from people who are supposedly on their team. Now, here's where it gets even crazier, because um the truth is, people on the far left and on the far right criticize Israel, but only one side gets labeled as hateful or bigoted. The other side gets praised for standing up for justice, and that's not logical. That's just bias. And if you're wondering why the far left only cares about Gaza and not the other world conflicts, Cory Booker points it out. He says, where was the outrage when America was helping Saudi Arabia bomb, right? Why doesn't anyone care about the suffering in Sudan, Haiti, Nigeria? And you got Christians being slaughtered in Africa. So he's right about selective outrage. We could go a little bit further.
Do you think he's a war criminal, Benjamin Netanyahu? Do you think he's a war criminal?
Again, these are questions that a lot of people think are the important litmus tests that are loaded and hot. My urgency is to be an effective leader in bringing an end to this crisis. And I get these questions all the time that, to me, undermine my urgency.
I think the thing that Democrats get so frustrated with, where we are right now, where you see like the Zoran Mamdanis and the Graham Plattners rise up, because they can go on podcasts and you can say, do you think Benjamin Netanyahu is a war criminal? And they just say, yes. And that's the end of it. It's not all of the rhetoric answering. It's like what happens to Democratic politicians, they go through this like prism, and then we can't ever get like the answer to yes or no conversations like you do with Bernie and others. And that's the frustration for the Democratic base with leadership. Do I think Netanyahu is worse than
Trump? Yes. Do I think that we right now in America should be doing everything possible to bring peace, not just to that crisis, but to the ones that shock me that no one talks about? And I hope, and I don't know if you guys have or not, but crises like Sudan, where there are American weapons literally causing horrific, in fact, by double, triple, quadruple, it's the biggest humanitarian crisis that we're not talking about as a country. When I was coming up, everybody was talking about Darfur. Now the moral silence is outrageous when American weapons are being used in that conflict.
And the same with Israel. I mean, our weapons, and even Democratic politicians signed them before they were sent over to kill kids. I really feel like if we get through this fascism, we have to have conversations like this, Senator. I think
but you're right. Where you're right is the Democratic Party. Again, as a Black guy in America, there are so many things we don't talk about that we need to have an honest conversation about. You're right. I work in a place that corruption has been accepted. Why are people taking corporate PAC money? Why are people trading stocks? I hold myself to the standard of what I want to see other elected officials.
See, you don't hold yourself to the standard because you take APAC money. But here's the bottom line, right? If you truly cared about human rights and genocide, you'll care about all of it, not just one situation. And the bottom line is, look, the far left is using the situation in Gaza as a political tool. They don't want peace. They don't want violence. They want outrage, because outrage gives them power. And once that conflict is over, they'll just find another one, but only if it fits the narrative. And don't expect them to speak up for persecuted Christians or people suffering in places that don't match their policies or politics. And that's why this podcast is so revealing, because it shows how some of these leftist influencers operate. They don't care about results. They care about loyalty to their ideology. And if you're not extreme enough, they come for you. Even if you agree with them on 98% of things, if you fall short on a less than 2%, they'll still try to cancel you. And that's the problem the Democratic Party is dealing with right now. That's the problem that they're dealing with. And they're stuck between trying to appeal to normal, everyday Americans and trying to please people like this host and who don't live in reality. And as long as they keep chasing the far left crowd, they're going to keep losing the middle, and regular people are going to keep walking away saying, yeah, this is not for me. And that's the reality of it. The reality of it is we got to fix home. America is not open for shop right now. We have to get a law and order. We have to get things back in order. We have to restore national security. And we also have to fix the crime within our own country so we can thrive as well, and it benefits Americans. I'm pro-American. I'm American first. I don't care if you were an immigrant and then you became a legal immigrant in America. You are American. American first, always. You have to fix your home first before you start helping others. What they usually say, my mother always told me, you have to organize your own house. You have to fix your junk first before you can help others. Let me know what you guys think. I love you guys. I hope you guys got some value from this video. As always, we're just here to have a conversation. Give this video a big thumbs up. It helps crush that YouTube algorithm. I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.